Hello there. In our previous video, we've seen how you can trigger a pop-up through a text or an image that you insert within a blog post or a page on your website. In this video, we'll be seeing how you can trigger a pop-up through a button inserted using an HTML tag. So say I have this blog post and I have the first button that says Show Pop-up. I wish to trigger a pop-up when the user clicks on this button. There are three ways we can do this. We can insert a link code to the button, we can add a class name, or even an ID. Let us now proceed to see the first method, that is to add a link code. I'll quickly edit the post. When the post is open in the editor, I have moved to the text mode and I see my first button that says Show Pop-up. I wish to trigger a pop-up through this button using a link code. So I move on to my Convert Pro editor. I go to the configuration settings and then I have enabled the on-click trigger. In order to insert the link code, you need to click this button so that the link code is copied, and then you can go ahead and paste it in the post. So I paste the link code here. Now if you see, the link code is nothing but an anchor tag with a specific class name that is associated with that particular model pop-up. It also has a default text that says click me, but we do not want to show click me as text, so we replace that with the button tag. So let me quickly cut the button tag from here and place it in place of click me. So you see, the button is added within the link code that we've obtained through the Convert Pro model pop-up. Let me quickly update this. And now when I open this in the front end, I see the button again, and when I click over the button, my pop-up has appeared. So this was how you can trigger a pop-up using a link code. In the next method, we'll be seeing how we can trigger a pop-up using a class name. So let us edit the post. Again, it is opened in the text mode and I have another button that says Show Pop-up using class name. Now all I need to do is add a unique class name here. So I insert the class attribute and I name the class as subscribe123. So all I did was I added a class attribute with a unique class name. So let me copy this class name, and now we move on to the Convert Pro editor. You see the field that asks you to enter a CSS class or an ID. Now remember, when you're adding a class here, you need to prefix it with a dot. So the class name that I'll be entering here would be .subscribe123. I'll save the changes, and now let us go to the blog post again and update the post and view it in the front end. Now you see, we have this button that says Show Pop-up using class name, and when I click over it, my pop-up has appeared. So this was the second method of how you can trigger a pop-up through a button. Now in the third method, we'll be seeing how this can be done using an ID. If you see, I have another button here. So when I click over it, nothing happens. And I wish to show the same pop-up when the user clicks over this button. So let me edit the post again and we move on to the third button. The third button says Show Pop-up using ID. Now for this, I need to add the ID attribute, and I'll add the ID as say subscribe now. So this is something unique that I'm using for this specific pop-up. I copy the ID and now again move on to the Convert Pro editor. Since we've already triggered this pop-up with a class name, you can choose to keep it single, or maybe you can add multiple class names or even IDs, separating them with a comma. So I add a comma and I add my ID here too. Now remember, when you're adding an ID, you need to prefix it with a hash. So I add the ID as hash and subscribe now. So for this particular pop-up, I've used three methods. I've already inserted the link code for the first button. Then I have the class name here, and I have also added the ID after I separated them using a comma. You can use a single class and ID or multiple combinations of these. So this is an example of a combination that I'm showing you. Let us save this, and I'll go ahead and update our blog post too. When I update it, let's open this in the front end and move on to the third button that says show pop-up using ID. I click over the button and my pop-up has appeared. So in this video, we've just seen how you can trigger a pop-up using a link code, a class name, and an ID. In the following videos, we'll be seeing how you can trigger a pop-up through various elements or buttons created using different page builders and also through menu items. So see you in the next video. Take care.